Buongiorno, sono Giuliana Mytheresa e noi siamo qui nella prima puntata di Studio Industry, che è la versione video della newsletter. La nostra prima ospite con la quale indagheremo ciò che sta succedendo nel mondo dell'abbigliamento, soprattutto maschile, è Sophie Jordan, che è la Menswear Buying Director di Mytheresa, cioè la persona che è a capo di tutti gli acquisti che la piattaforma di shop fa per quanto riguarda ovviamente l'abbigliamento uomo. Welcome Sophie, welcome here with us. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Yeah.
That's amazing. So we start right away with the interview. So the menswear's fashion shows have recently ended. From your professional point of view, what's happening in the menswear market at this specific moment?
I think at the moment, menswear is in a little bit of flux in certain places. I think we still feel like we're maybe missing seeing some of the big shows already because a lot of them have moved to the women's wear schedule.
Yes, they are going in co-head.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it feels like our big brands, which maybe lead the fashion forefront, let's say, of what's happening in menswear, we still haven't quite seen. So, you know, whether that's Tom Ford or Gucci, Bottega, the things that really add the excitement to the menswear industry, I think we're still waiting to see, you know, what that brings to the market. But I think in terms of menswear, you know, over True Fashion Week, it's given a little bit more space for some smaller, more emerging brands to have a little bit more airtime, get a little bit more visibility. So I think that's definitely good for Menswear Fashion Week and, you know, the menswear customer. They have a little bit more of a viewpoint on more brands and can learn more about different brands, which is great.
That's amazing. So sometimes when I talk with friends or colleagues, which do obviously my job, being a journalist, and I talk to people doing your job, so being on the other side of the spectrum, I see that our opinion, you know, are almost opposite, and that's totally fine. But I wanted to ask you, from your commercial, obviously, point of view, what do the clients or the Mytheresa customer, really want, and which are the menswear brand which are performing really well on your platform?
Yeah, so I think firstly, I agree with you. I think sometimes the press have, yes, a very different perspective as to, you know, the buyers. And I think, you know, I have one friend who works in fashion journalism and he's always like, oh, you're so business about it. You're so business. And I'm like, but I have to think if it's going to sell. Like we're coming at it from such different angles. But it's always nice to exchange those ideas. But yeah, we have very different perspectives sometimes. I think what men really want, and actually what adds to the commerciality, is really just like, it sounds so simple, but just great clothes that they can wear and understand, things that happen on the runway, but pieces that can translate into real life. That, you know, is easy to sell online, easy to understand. He can integrate it into his wardrobe. It's not too, you know, we all need the emotion and the kind of cherry on the cake pieces in a collection, but underneath that, we do need the strong foundations, that commercial collection, which is what's easy to buy and understand. So, you know, there's always that balance to be had. In terms of the brands that are working best for us on menswear, you know, brands like The Row are fantastic.
Okay.
Things like Brunello Cucinelli, Bottega's doing very well. Zegna does very well for our business. Things like Aurelie. So there's quite like diverse, but I think what is a common thread through all of these brands is that they really have a strong identity about who they are, you know, who their customer is, and they don't deviate too much season to season. There's really that consistency and common thread. The evolution of menswear season to season is very important to build a strong business.
And as you said, they translate pretty easily in the real life, obviously.
Not to say that we also can't sell some very fun out there fashion pieces. We definitely have that customer too. But yeah, in terms of the best-selling brands, there's really that strong foundation of, you know, what they're creating and knowing who they're creating it for.
Sophie, you're the menswear buying director for Mytheresa, but how does one become a buyer, and which was the starting point in your career?
I was perhaps a little bit geeky about it. I mean, I was very young. I was maybe 13. And I was like, right, I think I want to work in fashion, but I can't do design. What can I do? I was literally on the internet, Googling different jobs in fashion. And I was like, oh, okay, like a buyer. I can do numbers, and I felt like I had a sensibility for clothing and, you know, how to put things together. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do that. And literally every decision just made all of the decisions through university, first job, etc. Like working in a store as well, getting that customer experience. Just kind of knew from the off and made every single decision to get to that point. So I think I'm quite lucky in that I knew what I wanted to do, which is great. I started my career just at a different multi-brand luxury retailer, worked my way up through there, worked in women's wear, did fine jewelry, did lots of different categories, and then moved to Mytheresa. I also started in women's wear there.
Okay.
It's been 17 years of a buying career now. So, but only 2 in menswear. So it's an interesting shift.
You're so young. Congratulations.
Thank
on
you.
your
Thank
achievement.
you.
But talking about the upcoming, and new brands and new designer, which are the one which you think, from your point of view, are going to be really relevant 10 years from now?
So that's actually quite hard, but there's one that definitely springs to mind. I'm not sure if you've heard of Samana Mal.
No?
They are Swedish, 2 fantastic guys, very much tailoring focused at the moment, made to measure, but we stock them with their ready-to-wear collection as well. It's just a very modern take on quite a classic tailoring aesthetic. Their house shape is much more modern, and it feels very fresh. It's almost like a great brand for guys who want to get into tailoring for the first time. It's a great entry into that world, but then also, someone who's maybe a little bit older, they have to wear a lot of tailoring, every day. It provides a slightly different take on that category for them. Okay. But I think the reason I really believe in this brand is the 2, Doug and Saman, the 2 kind of founders, they have such an eye for different categories, whether it's design, furniture, art. Okay. They take in so many other references. Obviously. I believe it's going to become an amazing lifestyle brand in the future. I don't think they'll stop at just clothing. So how they push that forward is kind of something I'm really waiting to see. Okay.
In this specific moment, we are witnessing a crisis of the shops, the physical one and the e-shop platforms. A lot of them, even the big ones, are going through chapter 11. It's a difficult moment, for big department store. But nevertheless, Mytheresa stayed consistent during these times. And I think it's one of the few e-shop platforms which is profitable.
Yep.
What do you think is the secret recipe for that?
So I've been at Mytheresa for nearly 10 years, and I can say that the top line strategy has honestly never changed in that 10 years. So I think that consistency and that focus on who we are, understanding who our customer is and what our service is to that customer has been incredibly important. So we've always focused on our top customer, how we can service them better, what product we can get them that no one else is offering in the market. Just really being the most curated luxury offering that they can have. And I think that consistency, even in terms of sort of how we think about the numbers and how we manage the business, manage the stock, has always been incredibly consistent and, really making sure that we are keeping that profit margin in place because, at the end of the day, it all comes down to numbers too. So
a lot of big brands nowadays, because as you said, the moment in the market is very critical, it's very difficult, are playing it safe, obviously, and as you said before, during the fashion shows, there was the lack of a spark, in a way. Do you think that there are exceptions to this theory? There are any menswear brand which are risking something, in their image and whatever, and the risk is, in a way, paying off?
I think that there is a need for risk. I think there's ways to do it, so it's varying degrees of risk. I think Heider Ackerman coming in at Tom Ford is a very good example of someone who has balanced that very well, where they're new into a role, they're new into a brand, but he really has stamped his identity on the brand, but it's still kept the essence of what the brand was. So it can take the risks but still be, commercially successful.
Okay.
And I think understanding that commercial collection and how they build that out, that's really where the foundations of the business come from. that has still moved on, but it's not deviated too much from what the customer knows and understands. So
And loves about the brand.
yeah, you haven't
Okay.
alienated the true loyal customer, which is great. But what's exciting is that we can see a new customer coming in who's really excited and engaged by, the new ways that Haider's playing with color, the new house silhouette, the wider leg. There's lots of, newness coming through, but it still feels, it's like very considered risk-taking, let's say. And I think that's where it really pays off.
Okay. And last questions, which I'm very, interested in, because there's a suggestion from you that I would love to give to these new brands. There are a lot of new brands now, which, are facing challenging times, obviously. What advice would you give to them, from your commercial point of view, to this new designer who dare to launch their brand in this challenging lifetime?
I think the most important thing is really just knowing who they are as a brand, what they want to say, what their unique point of view is in the marketplace, and really understanding who their customer is.
Okay.
I think they're two very important, foundation pieces that they need to keep very true to themselves and not really deviate from, because there's so much out there, there's so much product, so many brands. Really having a voice that's unique and authentic is super important, and kind of, I think as brands try and emerge, they can maybe get a little bit diluted and lose a little bit of that. But I think keeping that strength inside as they continue to build is really important. I also think just, the fundamentals, quality, fabrication, fit, everything in that is so important, because you get one chance for them to buy something. If it's not quite right, men are very loyal, so if it fits well, then they're going to keep coming back. If they try it once and it's not quite right, getting them to try again is incredibly hard.
It's going to be challenging,
So yeah, you really do have to focus on all of those things as well. But yeah, I really commend new brands that want to come out and take that risk, because it isn't easy, and I think it can take time.
Yes.
Us as a buyer, sometimes we will look at a collection 2-3 seasons before we pick it up.
Because you want to see consistency, you want to see where they are going. Yes, and, it's understandable, yes.
For sure, and like what a summer season looks like versus a winter season. Do I have a year-round business? So it takes time. So there really is a big commitment side of it as well that is really important that they have when they start out.
That's amazing. So, Sophie, thank you. Thank you for being with us, and we'll catch up at the next, menswear shows. Grazie per essere stati con noi. Questo è Studio Industry e ci vediamo alla prossima puntata.